Hey everybody, it's Michael from Keyword Crypto. Before we get started, we just wanted to remind you guys that we are 100% listener funded. We do not do any pay for play or sponsorships right now. So 100% of what we say is our thoughts and our ideas. Nobody's paying us to do it. So any help is always appreciated. You can go to Patreon and search Keyword Crypto. You can go to our website at keyword-crypto.com. Find us on Twitter at Keyword Crypto, or even our Facebook group. And also just go there and let us know what you're thinking. Let us know if, how you think we're doing. If you have questions you want to ask us personally or you want us to ask people, that helps us kind of navigate the direction of where we see the industry going. What we're here to do is to help people be more skeptical to protect their money. So without further ado, enjoy the show. All right, everybody. Welcome to Keyword Crypto. My name is Michael. That's JJ, and we are a healthy dose of skepticism in the cryptocurrency space. That is a mouthful, but we finally got it, and I feel proud. Today, sorry, you're gonna say something, JJ?
I was gonna say, I don't know if that tagline really works yet. It's a work in progress.
It's important to we need skepticism. So today we have special guest Ouriel Ohayon.
Hello there.
Say it right.
Did I butcher it too bad?
Nice way to say my name. Sounds like an Argentinian poet.
Yes. Okay, can you say your name for everybody so they know how to properly say it? Because I feel like I have some experience with linguistic languages, but that is a hard name for me to say for some reason.
I'm French and Israeli, so the right way to probably say it is Ouriel. But whatever, whatever works.
Ouriel, and then how do you say your last name?
Ohayon. That would be in English, but in Hebrew it would be Ohayon.
Okay, perfect.
Okay,
so
and you're coming to us from
Tel Aviv, Israel.
Tel Aviv.
Absolutely.
Oh wow.
Nice. And
Exactly.
Ouriel is the CEO of ZenGo. And if you haven't heard of ZenGo, it's a new app that's come out in the crypto space. I've downloaded it on iOS and I've used it for about a week now. And he also just got a lot of buzz this week about a big Libra announcement. So, Ouriel, why don't you tell us a little bit about your app?
Sure. So thanks for having me first. Really delighted to be here. ZenGo indeed is a very recent crypto wallet that we just launched. And this is a wallet that is coming after many other wallets, but it has a very, very unique characteristic, is that it's the first wallet that does not have a private key. It's non-custodial, does not have a private key. It doesn't have any password, and it's extremely simple to set up, but extremely hard to attack and to lose. So it's kind of one of a kind in the landscape of crypto wallets, which are usually complicated to set up and to back up and to recover. And we're going to talk about it in more details if you want, but basically that's what it is.
Absolutely, because I'm not going to lie, I'm terrified when I use your app because I've used so many apps before and I'm used to having to write down the password and the keys and this and keep everything in separate locations in my house and at friends' houses and at the bank and blah, blah. Like, just by using your app, I'm like, wait a minute, where's this is so freaky, it's so scary, it's so easy. And that's really what I really wanted to talk to you about it, because it almost felt too good to be true. And the way JJ and I is, we try to be really skeptical about stuff. And it's like with BitConnect, if something sounds too good to be true, sometimes it is, or sometimes it's just like good technology comes along and just simplifies our life. And so I feel like with this space, there's so much stuff going on. It's kind of hard to tell sometimes.
And just to add to that, before you throw in an answer, is that one of the things that I feel like we learn from cryptocurrency is a new discipline in cybersecurity and protecting our privacy and things like, not your keys, not your coins. These are kind of mantras that we learn as soon as we step into Bitcoin and want to transfer our coins from Coinbase or wherever. This idea that now you are responsible, you have to take care of everything. You need to understand that your private keys are the most important thing. And so yeah, for me, I feel a little terrified too to use your wallet, because all of a sudden I'm being told, don't worry about that. And that sounds a little frightening to me. So yeah, So how do you answer questions from skeptics like us?
Well, sorry first for having scared you. The goal is the actually opposite. That's why we call it ZenGo. And this is a natural reaction actually that you guys are having. The ZenGo is a new paradigm in the industry of crypto, and as with every new paradigm, there's always an element of surprise when you discover something new, and something like skepticism is something natural. So let me explain you what you guys have seen, also what you have not seen and what you should know about it, and why what you think is a step function improvement to whatever you have known until now. So it is true that traditionally crypto wallets require, if they are non-custodial, of course, if they are custodial, they hold your funds and so they manage your private key. But typically non-custodial wallet, whether they are software, hardware, paper wallet, doesn't matter which, they will ask you to manage your own private key. So not your keys, not your crypto, right? And so you have to go through this tedious phase where you have to write down a set of passwords, and then they ask you to keep it somewhere safe, and no one really knows what it means, but everyone does it its own way. And so that's the typical experience. And this is based on public key cryptography, which has been around for many years. And when I came to this space, and I came very late, I looked at that and I thought to myself that there was no way that even if someone like me who's been in tech for 20 years was having difficulties with that, there's no way more people are going to find that easy and convenient, but more importantly, even safe, because it's susceptible to attacks, human errors, hacks, and this happens every single day, and the news confirm that. So I was looking for a new way to do that, and as I built a team around ZenGo, one of my co-founders opened my eyes on what's called threshold signature and multi-party computation, which is, and this is the fundamental innovation, something that you don't see in ZenGo, but that's what's powering what we call keyless crypto wallet, is the ability to decentralize the key generation, meaning that instead of having a typical private key, which you will not see in ZenGo, we are generating independent secrets on different machines that never meet each other, that never talk to each other, and that together are going to fulfill the same role as a private key. What this means for the user is that instead of being exposed to a private key when he set up a wallet, he's just being exposed to a user interface that takes him through the process of setting his independent secret. And we take care of the heavy lifting on our server. And together, the server and the phone are going to operate key signature, the signature phase where you sign transactions. So let me kind of recap here. You're having a wallet that does not have a private key, which is using threshold signature and multi-party computation, where independent secrets are generated independently on different machines that don't know each other. And then you get into the wallet. The experience is extremely smooth. We've built an experience where you don't need to write a password. You don't need to remember anything. You don't need to write down something and keep it somewhere safe. I can explain the details for the listeners because they don't see it, but the steps are extremely simple. You put an email, you confirm with a magic link, you scan your face on your phone, 3D encrypted on your phone, and that's it. Your wallet is set up and backed up. In 5 seconds, you've got a non-custodial wallet. And the beauty of that system is that there is no single point of failure. Typically in a wallet, a normal wallet, you will have a private key, and if this private key gets compromised, stolen, forgotten, your money is gone. Whereas here, there is no single point of failure in the sense that if your phone is hacked or if our server is hacked, the attacker or the owner is not losing his funds. So now we can get into the details and all the questions that this will generate, but it's kind of the fundamental principle. And this is why you have been surprised, because you've never seen the typical first phases of what's happening traditionally in a wallet.
True. So you answered one of my questions about what happens if the server gets hacked, and you're saying that it won't affect my personal funds because your server doesn't have my face scan?
Yes, well, it's more than that. I mean, the face is just one of the factors that we are using to co-sign and identify you. We are using multiple factors. Some of them that you see, some of them that you don't see. There's also multiple elements of anti-fraud. But the core principle is that in order for you to have access to your wallet, you have to be you. And being you means you need to have your device, you need to have your email, and you need to have your face. And that means that us, for example, us, the company, or an attacker that would have only one of those elements would be unable to access and spend your money. Unlike a typical wallet where when I have your login or your password or your SIM card or your private key, I can do whatever I want. So the level of complexity for an attacker or an error is increasingly higher compared to other wallets, but still the experience for the user is dramatically simpler.
Yeah, I mean, I will say it's one of the most simple wallets I've ever set up in my life, and that's what kind of triggered some concern in me, because it really was that easy. And so your server doesn't store anything, like doesn't store my face, like anything like that on your server?
So here is what we store. We store the second independent secret that enables us to sign with you, but that in itself is worth nothing because it cannot do anything. We cannot start transaction. We cannot modify transaction. So that's one thing that we store. And the second thing that we store is an encrypted copy of your face that has been encrypted on your phone. So we cannot read it, we cannot use it, and whoever has access to it would not be able to do anything with it. So those are harmless kind of files that are stored on our server, and all the magic happen on your device.
Sorry, JJ, I felt like I stepped over. Did you want to ask something?
Well, before asking questions about how the server and how the identification works, my first question is, where is the trust? What happens to that? So, well, when I buy some Bitcoin on Coinbase, I'm trusting Coinbase to be responsible, but just do its thing and not lose my money. When I have a hardware wallet, I'm trusting the hardware wallet to function so that I can enter my password and access the software. So in this case, the trust is in, it's, as I understand it, it's your servers, your software, but also my device, and it's distributed between those things. So it's relatively centralized, to use that word that we're so familiar with. It is something that your software, your business controls your software, and therefore your business actually does have quite a bit of control over the money, basically.
So it is indeed a new kind of trust model, right? It's not one where you have to absolutely trust the third party. It's not one where you have to absolutely trust yourself or the hardware. It's a mix of both, right? It's like, a new approach to distributing security and trust. But you need to understand a few things. It's user controlled, meaning that only the owner can do important things. Only the owner can create a wallet, restore a wallet, access the funds, spend the funds. So the server can in no way do that for its customers. So that's element number one. Element number two, we've built a recovery, what we call no matter what recovery, which means that no matter what happens, you have always the ability to recover, whether you lose your phone gets stolen, all kinds of things like that. And we even created, and we launched it from day one, a solution that even if we get out of business, ZenGo stops being able to operate for whatever reason, we guarantee, we don't need to guarantee. There is a guarantee on 100% of the funds that your funds will be accessible, even if our servers are completely down. So it's true that in a way we intervene in the trust system, and we have some part of responsibility, but the heavy weight is on the user side, and the user has the guarantee that his funds are only accessible by him, and no matter what happens. And think about that. In typical trust model that you have described, the ability to have your secrets makes whoever has them being able to spend them, whether you are the owner or not, right? So I'm the attacker, I SIM-jacked you, and I got your Coinbase account, and that has happened recently. I can spend your money. I can empty your account, and your funds will be completely emptied out of your Coinbase account or whatever exchange account. If I have your private key, right? And I'm not the owner of that private key, I can spend that money, right? So the trust model, when it's on that side, has also its limitations. What we've introduced, and it's I think the first time it happens, is that only the owner can access and recover and spend his money. And this access is based on the fact that you are you. And this is a new paradigm shift that does not exist today, not just in the industry, just also in fintech. You don't find that. So I hope it makes things clearer.
Yeah, I guess my question is, so can you explain more about if you're, hold on, I'm going to open up my app.
Yep.
And you said if your servers were to go down, I would still be able to access all of my Bitcoin.
That's right.
So how does that happen?
Excellent question. We have actually published just a blog post yesterday, so your listeners can go and see in every single detail the way it's operated. It's coded. The GitHub is already open, so it can be verified that we're not most of the 100% of the cryptography is also open source. So you don't need to trust us. You can verify. The way it works is that we have set up let's call that a sort of decentralized organization composed of multiple entities that are not related to ZenGo. And they are composed of a software escrow company, of a trustee. Those are established companies, public on the web, and you can see who they are. And those entities receive on a high frequency basis proof of existence of ZenGo, which are both legal and technical. If they stop receiving them, there will be a human verification process about our existence, right? They will contact us. They will do it in multiple ways. And if that does not work after a certain time, they will trigger a set of code that will be published back to GitHub. All right, so the GitHub repository is available. You can check it. And the app that you have on your phone is listening to that repository. And if it sees that the code is there, it releases your funds without having the necessity to have ZenGo on the other side. So the funds are not immediately available, but they will be available after a certain period of time, and your funds are not locked in.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, so there's a fail-safe.
Absolutely.
So I mean, I think for somebody who I feel like I've been indoctrinated into Bitcoin, and the reason I wanted to do this podcast with JJ is because I feel like there's so many words that people in the cryptocurrency space use incorrectly that kind of drives me crazy. Because when they bring in new people into the space, people like these words have definitions across the world, and then when people in the crypto space use them incorrectly, it gives people a false sense of security. So like they say, I'm blanking on the word where you can't go back and change the blockchain. What's that called?
Immutable.
Immutable.
They're like Bitcoin is immutable, and like, okay, well, technically it's not immutable. Theoretically, it's not even theoretically immutable. Like it can, if you get a 51% attack and blah, blah, and you spend this much money, they're like, well, that would never happen. You're like, well, everybody says that until it happens. So like, it's not actually immutable. It's just really, really hard to do it. And the chances are very, very slim, but it's not actually immutable. And so I think because of these words, it's so dangerous to use these words because people get this false sense of false impression, sense of safety and security. And I like the fact that when I'm listening to you talk, it's like, no, like nothing's 100% foolproof and nothing's 100% safe. That's why we have to have all these different checks and balances all the way across. Like here, if something happens to us, this triggers over here, and and that's a little bit more reassuring to me.
That's true. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, if you're listening and you're new to Bitcoin and you're new to crypto and you've heard the words immutable and censorship resistant and permissionless, and you don't know exactly what those words mean, you should look them up because you shouldn't just associate them with Bitcoin and understand them in that context because you won't understand them that way. So we won't define them here on this show, but go do your homework and figure out what they mean. Because a lot of people come into Bitcoin, they learn, Bitcoin is censorship resistant, and that is associated with Bitcoin. And it's not even, and then they start to associate it with all cryptocurrency, which isn't true at all.
And for 10 years, everyone's like, oh, this is anonymous and this and that. And then finally people are like, oh no, it's actually not anonymous. It's pseudonymous, but it's not anonymous.
Right.
But for so long, people actually believed it was anonymous. And then all of a sudden, people started having their funds stolen, or they got tracked, or they got hacked, or they got this. And people are like, wait a minute, you guys have been saying anonymous for so long. And they're like, oh, well, it's technically not anonymous. We just say, because it's like, oh my God, like that's the Bitcoin community to me, where it's just like they consistently, I don't want to say lie, but they over exaggerate, and it really kind of creates.
They take things. Yeah. My favorite is Bitcoin maximalist. You're actually a crypto minimalist. You're not a Bitcoin maximalist. It's one of my favorites. Anyway, we're off track.
Yeah, that happens here.
So
I'm still here.
Yeah.
The point is that your wallet is doing things based on what the actual words mean.
Yes, and look, I came to the space because I was like many people, like fell in love with the space, like deeply curious about it, and really believed into the space. But I could not associate the fact that this industry was going to become mainstream to the current technologies. And I still see that today, every single day, when we speak to our users and to our customers and to people who are asking questions like you, they are not comfortable with the existing model. Some people are, and it will be fine. They will keep using current solutions, but the majority are not. And certainly those people who are not yet in crypto, and they don't even want to know about censorship resistance and all these things. They want something that is simple, that works, that is reliable, and wanted to build something for this kind of people. So it's a different flavor in the ice cream shop, right? Something that was not there before. It's surprising at first. When you understand the model, you say, that's interesting. I didn't know it was possible, but it is. And this kind of flavor opens a whole new set of opportunities and access to different type of audiences that was not possible until now. And so that's what people realize very quickly once they start to use the product. It's a delightful experience. It's extremely simple, but it's powered by cutting edge cryptography. There is not 100% security. Every solution that claims 100% security will lie and will deceive their users. And there are massive point of failures in a fully decentralized system. The main one being the human being. The fact that human errors. We have users who lost hundreds of thousands of dollars because they did not back up correctly their phrases and they thought they did, or the wallet did not force them into a backup and they forgot to do it. And perfection in security does not exist. What we try to build is something that massively increases the gap between security and simplicity. And when everyone claims that simple is already existing, we claim it is not. And the proof is every day when someone is losing money or having difficulties accessing his funds. So I think a new recipe was necessary. And it's like saying, well, we were sending messages via fax machine and one day email arrives. And, one day is POP3 and one day is IMAP, and people cannot look back when it's happened. So we believe that we are in this phase right now.
And that's a perfect thing really fast is I love the fact that you said that, because I don't think a coder should ever design something, because what's simple for them is not simple for 99% of the world's population. And the reason I thought no one's ever going to use cryptocurrency right now, because it's I can't even explain it to my mom half the time. It's like, if my mom can't just pick it up and make it work, there's no way the vast majority of people around the world are going to be able to use it.
We've got a huge problem, and it existed for a while. And the first time that I heard about Bitcoin was several years ago, when a friend of mine posted in a forum and said, in a couple of years, everybody's going to wish that they set up a Bitcoin wallet. And that very night, Bitcoin was a little over $100, and I went online to try to find a Bitcoin wallet. I had about $1,000 to invest, and I went through wallets, and I couldn't really figure out how to get them to work. So I was like, screw this, I'll figure it out later. And I never invested because I couldn't figure it out. And then fast forward to today, we still have an issue with onboarding people because custody is such it's such an obvious hole in the technology right now. And I think when you come into crypto, when you're into autonomy, and that's one of the reasons that a lot of people get into buying Bitcoin and keeping it and holding it, is that they want to take control of things themselves. They don't want somebody else that they don't know protecting their assets. But any sort of mass adoption is going to mean that we're going to have to give up that autonomy, or that we're going to have to put trust into something else, and we're going to have to. There's going to be something. I have friends that would rather keep their money on Binance than on a hardware wallet because they trust Binance more than themselves.
This is true. Yeah.
So I'm not kidding, because Binance has actually proven that, they will actually keep your funds SAFU, or whatever. Like, they've proven it, when it's very, very easy to misplace your seed phrase or whatever. Yeah. And most people who are going to buy crypto are going to be like, a seed phrase? What that? Yeah. What? Do I have to like hide that under my mattress or something? Do I have to like hide it in a So I'm going to go and make a call here and say that no matter, I've never actually used the ZenGo wallet. I haven't used it yet. But I would say that regardless whether the technology is good or bad, whether it's a good or bad app, I think what you're doing is great, because you are asking the questions and you are building things that are going to it's the stepping stones for the way the future is going to look, because we're going to have that.
Yeah, yes, our bet is, so look, thank you so much for saying that. I appreciate, and we hear that every day, every time people are using the service. What we're looking at is, indeed the reality is that most people leave their funds on exchanges because A, it's convenient, and B, they don't understand self-custody. It's way too complicated, and they abandon it very quickly. Of course, some manage, and that's why millions of hardware wallets are being sold and people download decentralized wallets. But we're talking about niche audiences. If you want to get to very large audiences, and if you want to improve the state, you need to introduce a new flavor. And this flavor cannot be based on custodian models. Even Binance has been hacked, and every single exchange, if has not been hacked yet, will be hacked, because this is just the law of nature. A centralized system is going to, at some point, fail. So the future has to be distributed. I don't necessarily like the word decentralized, but I like the word distributed better. And although people say they want to be in control, they also like to have in front of them a service that they can talk to when they need something. That's also human nature. We like services. We like strong brands. We like to be able to ask questions. We don't like to be said, sorry, we cannot help you here, which is what you hear the first time you try a new wallet. So I think the future will look like a hybrid where users are in control, but you still have custodian grade kind of service and approach. And I think this is what we kind of building with ZenGo, where you have best of both worlds. You of course need to try it to understand it. You need to understand a little bit the trust model. You need to verify it. But here is the thing. Most people don't ask those questions. Most people want something that just works. They will get it through recommendation or peer prescription, and that will be good enough for them. And hopefully at some point people will realize that it's a better option, and that's what we're betting on.
Yeah. So can I ask a couple questions about the app itself?
Sure.
So I haven't officially sent anything yet. I've just received. Is there a way to adjust the fee?
No, not at this moment. For now, we optimized for extreme simplicity. The algorithm, optimizes for the best fee that you can get. There will be such option in a later stage. We're just like 3 weeks old, so give us some time.
No, that's great. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if that was something that if you wanted to just keep it base and simple, or it's something you were planning on doing in the future. That's what a lot of these questions I'm going to ask are about. Sorry, did you want to?
Oh, I was just gonna say, how many different cryptocurrencies can you store on the wallet?
So right now it's just Bitcoin and Ethereum, but we're going to support every single type of assets, not just coins, digital assets that sits on the blockchain.
So for Ethereum, this might be a more technical question, but since Ethereum, your keys, you access the blockchain in order to access your wallet. So do you have an interface for that, or how does that work?
So the funds are 100% non-custodial. They stay on chain. You can verify that because there is an explorer view. So you see where your funds are being actually stored. You see the TX IDs and your TXOs and all these things.
So you don't have to use it. You don't have to use any other third-party app in order to access, or you don't have to. You can just see your Ethereum right on your wallet. That's
correct. So
nice.
if you receive the transaction, you can click on it, and you will have the Explorer view right there. So for Ethereum, we're using Etherscan, and for Bitcoin, we're using Blockstream. But we could use anything, and so you can verify that your funds are there, that it's 100% non-custodial, and that we do not.
So this is my goal. This is my goal today. Ouriel, you and me, we're going to convince JJ by the end of the podcast to download it and use this app, because I've used it. I think it's amazing so far. And with all the information you're giving us, it sounds like right now, it's probably right now, from my personal experience, it's the easiest Bitcoin app on the market to set up and to use.
I agree, JJ. You have to try it.
Yeah, I'm looking
all right.
forward
So
to
you
it.
said you have a question, JJ?
Yeah. Well, I have one more. Well, now that you've put the challenge into the podcast, I might have to ask more questions. But my other question was, does your wallet offer any sort of payment processing or messaging that is instant between wallets, kind of like Coinbase does, or Square, or whatever?
So not yet.
Or does it when you make a transaction, when you send coins, you're actually sending on the blockchain, or are you sending a message first? Shows up as
we don't do sidechain stuff. All the transactions are on chain, so it's regular transactions, and there is some magic that is happening because you will have the feeling that it's extremely fast. And when you receive a transaction, we do something that no one does. We send you a real-time push that your transaction has arrived, and it's arriving extremely fast. So you have the sensation, it feels like an instant messenger, but all your transactions are on-chain, and you can verify that. The wallet, in terms of feature right now, is extremely simple. It's like a subpar compared to any other wallet. We don't have all the bells and whistles. This is by design. We wanted to launch that way, but you're going to see very soon a lot of other things that other wallets do not have, that are serious improvement to how you manage your security, your safety, your funds, the connection to certain dApps, and hopefully at that point the wallet will be better in terms of what you can do with your money.
So here's a serious question. It's kind of morose and macabre, but I think it's an important one. What happens if I die?
It's an excellent question. Sorry to hear that. Well, normally after you die, you stop caring about things, right?
Exactly. As Keanu Reeves,
that's the funny answer.
Reeves says, hopefully the people that love you will be sad.
Exactly. That's a very serious question. And actually, it's not a ZenGo specific question. And I have an answer for that. So hold on here. It's an industry-wide question. Think about that. When you die, your secrets die with you. And what is the first rule of private key management? Never, ever share your private key with anyone, including people you think you trust, because human error can happen. People you trust at point 1 can change at point 2, and you don't trust them anymore. So inheritance planning is a massive issue, completely ignored by the industry, with some patches here and there, but no elegant solutions. So I cannot reveal all the secrets, all the things we're building on. I can already tell you that we're working on something that is going to be a revelation to the industry when it comes out, and that's going to be a solution for these kind of cases. We are well geared to build that because there is a trusted server in the middle that can play the role of an escrow with a W, and so there is elegant solutions we can bring here. Right now, there is no solutions. The only answer I can give you is that if you die, and if you have taken care that your device is still available to your heir, and you provided the access to your device, to your heirs, then they will be able to spend the funds on your device. There will be no limitations. but it's up to you to take care of that. That's not good enough because in many cases the device can disappear, can go away, God forbid, an accident, in a fire or whatever. So it needs to be something much better than that. And so we're building a solution for this.
Do you have any kind of ETA, or is just like you're just in the works right now?
It's going to be available this year.
Great. Sweet.
Don't die this year.
Nice. I have a question that spans past, or like kind of it's like a side chain of what we're talking about now. So Jay, did you have any more questions about the app itself?
Well, I have two. One was I was trying to think of how I could, if I knew that Michael was using the ZenGo wallet, how I could steal his money. And besides walking to his house with a gun and putting a gun to his head and said, send me your coins, like I would need to have his identity and his face. And so, yeah, I guess I'm just trying to imagine. I need to actually try to use the wallet because that's what I need to do, because I don't understand phone, but not a password. So just your phone and an image. Okay.
Well, if my phone's password protected, so you got to have
so
that
a question. All right. Okay.
Jump in whenever you want.
All right, because we get this question all the time, and to answer it, we did something that is kind of unconventional, but that's the best way to explain it. So you cannot fake a face, right? You cannot fake a face because the technology that's being used is not measuring the likeness of your face. So you cannot use a picture or video or even a 3D mask. We're measuring what's called the liveness, meaning the ability of your face to be alive, your eyes blinking, your mouth moving, your head moving, everything that makes you you. And to prove that, we've just launched 2 weeks ago what we call the ZenGo challenge, where we have put 1 Bitcoin in a wallet, ZenGo wallet. We gave away the email access of this account, which is passwordless. So using Mailinator, anyone can access it. We gave a high definition picture of my face, which is associated to that account. And we gave also the iCloud account, and we say to the users, all right, get the Bitcoin. If you get it, it's yours. It's on chain, so anyone can verify. And I'm happy to report that until now, hundreds of people have tried and have not managed to get it. Why? Because a picture, even a video, will not work. And the best way to verify it is with yourself. Set up your wallet, take a picture of yourself, try to get in, you will not manage. And so indeed, you need the email access of the user, you need this device, which already limits strongly the capacity to get in, but you need also his live face. So the only vector attack is indeed a physical attack, but that's not different from any other services. Right. Someone will force you into a Coinbase account or into a wallet, and they will want you to send the money. So that's not different.
Okay, so where does the facial recognition software come from? Is this licensed from somebody else, or
yes.
I'm assuming that this is from people who know a lot about facial recognition software, which is something that makes a lot of people uncomfortable naturally.
That's right.
But where do you get yours?
We're using a third party, but you have to differentiate between face recognition one-on-one and mass recognition, which is things that are used in airports. So things differentiate between security solutions and authentication solutions. So we're using a US-based company that's using it on millions and millions of users individually, and companies and services like car manufacturers and banks and things like that. And so the innovation is not to use face recognition on an individual basis. Also remember, it's encrypted on the device, so we do not see anything, and the file itself is useless. The innovation does not come from there. This innovation comes from the fact that we've managed to plug that into a cryptographic stack. And that's something that you cannot do on a typical decentralized wallet, because of course, what happens if you lose your phone, right? If your face map disappears with your phone, well, what's the point of having a face encryption, right? So you cannot restore it on a new device. So the difficulty was not to just have face recognition at the highest quality, and they do have the best face recognition technology on the planet. They have multiple level of certificates. They've been audited inside out. They've been used by some of the best brands in the world. You can verify it for yourself. The innovation comes from the fact that we've managed to plug that into a cryptographic stack and make it extremely simple for users to use. So that's where the technology is coming from, and where the innovation is coming from.
So when is the face actually getting registered on a day-to-day basis when you use the app. Like when you try to send the Bitcoin off, it asks, like I said, I'm just trying to save money, so I haven't actually sent anything out yet because I just don't want to lose how much the transaction fees are right now for Bitcoin, like $6. That's how.
So we're not using it for sending transactions. We're using it for wallet setup and wallet recovery for now. We will be using it for other things, critical type of actions in the future. But when you're sending a transaction, we're using device biometrics. So whatever you have on your device, whether this is like Touch ID or a Face ID, which is different from the face scan that we are using, which is server side and encrypted. But we're not using that service for that.
Sorry, JJ, what were you saying?
For me, I mean, that just facial recognition software is another thing that I have to put trust into. It's one of the things I know a lot of people also feel uncomfortable with it, not because of the security issues, just because if I'm not using let's say I'm used to using a password, all of a sudden I have to trust that this phone or this device or whatever it is going to recognize my face, which is something that a lot of people aren't used to yet. And maybe that's just a matter of time before people are used to that.
What if I get in a car accident and I'm horribly disfigured?
It's a good question. And that question that's not just like, give us an anecdotal example. That's like, we can't have something happen to our face and have to go in and talk to somebody and say, oh, hey, can I reset my face? We shouldn't have to have that in the future.
So let me first, there's a lot to unpack here, and you're asking very good questions. We get them all the time. And you need to zoom in to realize what those questions means. First, if your change of face is minor, like you add a beard or you add a scar or things like that, it will still work, right? So there's no problem on that side. If the change of face is major, like a facial surgery, you had a car accident, you have to ask a second question: do you still have access to your device? Because if you do, you still have your fund and access to your funds, right? The face is not required to spend the money. And it's required by the device biometrics, which you have controlled on, and you don't need to trust that. So if you have a major face change and you still have access to your device, you have zero problem. The question becomes, what happens if the device is not there anymore? And the question that you have to also ask is, do you trust more yourself as a password manager, if I can say so, or do you want to alleviate yourself from that responsibility? Remember, the majority of people choose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or my password or admin as a password, right? That's why there are millions of hacks every month happening. So a password seems like a good solution in appearance, but that's actually a terrible choice. People should not need to trust themselves. They should need to trust something that is better than themselves. And indeed, something like face is surprising at first, but when you understand the model and when you see it in operating and you see it work, it's more reassuring. I just want to add one last thing. We will add a fallback system, and we're not revealing what it is yet. We will add a fallback system in case of extreme situations where you both change your face and you lost your device. So there will be also a fallback mechanism here that will also increase the trust into overall the system. But remember that even without that, you're still way better than with a typical password.
Yeah. And the only downside in America is that if you don't use a password to unlock your phone, if you use your face or your finger, the courts have ruled that the police can force you to open up your phone using your face or your finger, but they can't make you reveal your password. So if someone's using their finger or their face to unlock their phone, then you'll be able to get access to all your Bitcoin funds if you don't have a password to unlock your phone. So just be aware of that.
So this is interesting because we're talking about like possibly complications in the future of technology that are, legal and even possible. So I completely agree that password management is something that's kind of ridiculous and at some point will be obsolete, hopefully, because it's like you say, most people don't want to be responsible. I think most people just don't want to be responsible at all. That would be a nice way to be. So having to manage a password is is something of the past already. But when this is new technology and we have to go through the growing pains of adopting it, along with something like what Michael says with the courts and with the law, like, yeah, it's a tough question, and I'm sure it's something that you guys have thought about a lot because you're building something that is very important and hopefully influential.
Yes, we did, and I think the timing is okay for these kind of things because people are getting trained to these kind of behaviors. Biometrics is something that is embedded in every single mobile device. You start to see it in many places. Of course, it comes with also some part of bad buzz when the technology is poorly used, and it doesn't matter what kind of technology it is. There will be also some side effects, but overall, people are getting used to it. Think about that. Nearly every single wallet allows you to get in with your device biometrics, right? So the fact that you need a password or doesn't need a password doesn't matter anymore, right? It's already the case. And so we're just surfing on that trend. We believe that this is being more and more adopted. We see the adoption of face recognition or biometric recognition widely spread out, not just in crypto, but also outside of crypto. So it's surprising at first because in crypto, it's not very much yet the practice. But remember, we just only tens of millions of users in crypto. So there's still billions of people coming up.
So these have been amazing answers. I'm kind of a fanboy right now, so if you can't tell. If JJ, do you have any last questions? Because I'd like to move on to the big reveal that happened last week. If you're good.
Well, I think the only other thing that makes me that gives me sort of a trepidation about using something that's like an iOS app is that I don't always trust my phone to even boot up the right way. So actually putting all my money onto it and hoping that an iOS app plays along with all the other crap apps I have on my phone, that's just another thing. But since we're looking at your software as something that's going to have future implications, I don't really think that's a question that I have. It's just something that does make me a little concerned about downloading it and then sending my money to it right away.
Really fast before we go on
but
to
I
the,
think
to the
in the future,
next big thing. Are you expecting people to use this as a day-to-day wallet or as a place to store 100% of their funds?
We see both today. We have people who are storing low amounts with people who are storing millions of dollars already in ZenGo, and surprising because we're just 3 weeks old. So we have different already type of audiences. The most important thing that we've learned is that once people understand the model, they trust it and they love it. And so there is a gap that we need to pass in terms of all the questions that you guys are asking. And once they pass this stage, there is no way back. They use it for every single purpose that they might have. And hopefully we will see in the future, we will learn more as we get more and more users. It will be, different type of assets will also bring different type of users. But for now, it's really a little bit of both. And to answer also your point, it will not be just on iOS. We're already working on Android. So systems will be interoperable, and you will be able to move to one type of device to another if you want to. In the future, we will have a desktop version too. So we will be embedded. And our vision is simple, is that your existing device are your hardware wallets. This is the hardware that you need, the only hardware that you need for doing anything in your digital life, camera, phone, anything, and including crypto. It just not happened yet, but we believe with the proper cryptography, math, and software, it will happen, and hopefully, we're one of the first to do that.
Okay, one last question about the wallet, and then we can move on. This is a pretty big one, though. Is the wallet for sale? What's the business model? How are you profitable? How do you make money?
So right now we don't, because we just launched, and so the wallet is free and will be free for life for whoever is joining now. So if your listeners are listening, that was a good tip. The model will not be free forever. We already say that on the website. The model that we are going to have is very, I don't like this word, but kind of neobank type of model where you have a free tier. And if you want more services, if you want better customer support, if you want all kinds of goodies and kind of bank-like type of service, you have to pay a monthly subscription. And we will introduce a monthly subscription package at some point. Not yet. It's too early. Right now, we're focusing on adoption, on product development, and trust building. And so the model will be based on that. There will be also multiple integrations with a wide range of protocols and services that enable you to do things with your money. Lending and swapping and fiat on ramp and stuff like that. And if you're depositing enough money and using the services, the monthly subscription will be waived. So that's the model that we're building.
Yeah, because that was one of my questions too. Thanks for asking that. So,
and of course, by the way, it reinforces the trust model because what's the future of a solution if it's completely free, right? How do you know that the software that you're using will be there tomorrow? If you pay for nothing, it means that somehow you are the product. So we are not optimizing for you being the product. We're optimizing for the product being the product.
Yeah, it's interesting that the crypto in a lot of ways kind of shows that profit seeking is one of those things that's actually is a good thing when you think about it in terms of growth. So yeah, I think it's a great.
Yeah, I mean,
great
we're still
that you have an answer for that.
I don't want to say capitalist, but a free market planet when it comes to international products like apps and things like that, where people are designing them for the entire planet. And so, if you don't have a model to stick around long term, that can be scary, especially when you're asking people to trust your app with funds. But
totally.
So last week there was a huge announcement about you guys with Libra. Do you want to explain what that was for our listeners?
So yeah, we announced the support for Libra testnet. We built a proof of concept of a non-custodial wallet with no private key, based on multi-party computation and threshold signature. We used the Libra code that is available on GitHub, and we built quickly a support for it. Right now, there's no user interface. Little scoop, there will be a user interface built into ZenGo very, very soon. It will be gorgeous and very, very nice. But we just launched that on GitHub, and people can already use that and see the code and verify how it works. And that had a huge wave effect into the industry because it's the first wallet that ever does that. And obviously, Libra seems to be a big deal in the industry. There are also a lot of questions around, Libra, how is it going to be controlled? Is it going to be custodial only and everything? So it appears that it brings some element of answers to some of the biggest worries around Libra, which is a good thing. I think Libra is doing the right things, enabling the right things. And we built that very, very quickly. One of the beauties of threshold cryptography and multi-party computation is that it's blockchain agnostic, unlike multi-sig, which is really, really constrained to Bitcoin right now and very much there and cannot expand to other things. It was very easy for us to build that. It's very easy for us to build actually any kind of support. We're already building for Binance Chain and Tezos and others. And so that was also a big deal because it's kind of, how did we do that so fast, right? It was announced 2 weeks ago, and 2 weeks later, there's already a wallet built for it. So that kind of was adding some element of surprise, and people at Facebook noticed that, and they even talked about it publicly. David Marcus tweeted about it, and there was like a lot of coverage about that. So it's indeed like a big deal for us. We will see in the future if it's a big deal also for the industry.
I was really surprised because I had just heard about your app like 4 weeks ago, and I was like, "Wow! Already, you guys are coming up with this with the Libra interface. Like that was impressive." And it did. I was amazed at because I saw one little blur about ZenGo, and that's when I downloaded it, and I didn't hear anything else for a while, and then all of a sudden ZenGo was on everyone's lips because of Libra. And it's interesting how like the thing that everybody hates Facebook. But everyone's kind of can't stop talking about it, and the fact that you're already like, "Hey, we don't care. We just want crypto to work," and people are like, "Oh yeah, okay,
exactly."
Yeah, and it did solve a lot of the questions people had about like custodial, non-custodial.
Exactly, and I'll tell you a little secret. When I started this project, I secretly dreamed that a project like Libra would come to life. I didn't know where it would come from. but it was really something that we wanted to have because we knew it would be an inception point for the industry, an AOL moment or an iPhone moment where new eyes would open to the industry. And for us, when we heard about Libra, it was a no-brainer. We had to go there. We had to support it. I don't know if it will win. I don't know if this is the only protocol that will win, but we knew it was going to matter. You know, at the media level, everyone talked about it. And so it was obvious for us we had to go there. And it was not just like a PR stunt or something like a coup. We deeply believe in this type of project. We looked at the code, which, by the way, is awesome. Like, if you're a developer, Libra project is world-class code. And, you know, we really wanted to build something for it. And we really committed
Facebook
to that project.
Facebook didn't create the code. The code was out there for a while, being created by a company, right? A different company, and Facebook just kind of brought them in, from my understanding. Yeah, so
correct. Yeah, they acquired a company called Change Space.
So that's good to know that you're impressed with their code. Yeah, and it's nice to hear that your app is blockchain agnostic. So it doesn't matter if Libra is successful or not, or if it even launches. Period. You know, just the fact that you have a wallet that can jump from chain to chain to chain is pretty exciting.
Yes, because, you know, sorry, go ahead. No, I was about to say, if the future is multi-assets, there's no way people are going to download multiple wallets, the same way they don't have multiple remote controls for the TV. So you need one remote control for all your assets. And so we're trying to build that interface where in one place you can manage any type of digital assets, whether they are coins, tokens, stable coins, collectibles, titles of properties, proof of ownership, digital identities. So you will need a home for that. And so that's what we're trying to build. And for that, you need a proper technology. So that's where threshold signature is useful.
This is why new blood into the space is so important, because it's so easy to get kind of set in the ways once you learn a certain system, and it's very difficult for some people to think beyond that. And this new blood comes in. That's why Google was just so effective, is because I feel like people were in this kind of space for so long with search. And then these guys just were like, no, we're just going to do it this way. And people are like, you can't do that. And they're like, yeah, we can here. And it just blew up. And I feel like this is one of those, I mean, I don't want to get too like, you know, blow smoke up your ass, but like, I feel like this is one of those moments for me when I'm using your wallet. And I was like, holy shit, it's been 10 years. How has nobody done this yet? And that's, for me, it was just like, it almost is like, why is this too good to be true? Because like, if nobody thought of it, but like every single great invention is like that. Like, it was never invented until somebody did it, even though people thought about it. And so it's exciting to come across something like that.
I think that, yeah. Yeah, I mean,
JJ's speechless.
Right now, crypto is still so
out of words.
No, I'm trying to think of a way to say this in the easiest, simplest way, because we'll get a lot of shit for this sometimes. Is that like crypto is so small right now, and there's a lot of what we call tribalism in the space, where people are rooting for their favorite startups, for their favorite coins, because they're emotionally attached to where their money is. And because of that, and because they don't want to bother to understand the technology, they don't want to understand the philosophy necessarily. It's kind of like, you know, it's much easier to associate yourself with a personality or some sort of ideology than it is to actually look at what the practical and rational solutions are. And I feel like that the noise, it's really just noise that causes people to like not look at what an actual cryptocurrency does, but they immediately will say, that's not going to work because it's not what I have, or it's not what existed before. So I can imagine making a wallet in 2019 is like, oh yeah, well, we've got wallets. We've seen wallets gets hacked, and we've seen wallets that are hard to use. And it's like, okay, well, we still need to build as many of them as possible, and we need to try as many as possible. And we kind of all need to be open to them being both good and bad and all of these things. It's like the reason that we want actually a Bitcoin and a Bitcoin Cash and a Bitcoin SV, because we need to try them all, because we don't know which one's going to be the best one
and to
yet.
go back to
And it's just part of the evolution of technology.
About you don't want 17 remotes for all this new technology that keeps getting introduced to your home. And it's just like, I just want one goddamn wallet or one goddamn remote to do everything. And it makes it so much more difficult for adoption to happen when somebody has to have 12 different apps on their phone. And the point of sale place, the place selling me the sweater, has to have 17 different scanning options because you have Bitcoin Cash and he has Litecoin and so has Nano and so has Ethereum. How do you accept all this different stuff? Oh, just put on a credit card. Okay. Well, now the person has to there's whereas if it's on one app right there, I don't have to worry about it. Everything's on the app. You scan it. That's exciting because I feel like it just smooths out all the bumps.
Exactly, and simplicity is underrated into the industry, and it's also think about that. If you are a blockchain developer, you're developing a new chain, it's already complex enough. If you have to build a wallet, it's so complicated. You have to build it for multiple operating systems. You have to create security audits. You have to do QA. You have to do customer support, which is a major pain because people contact you all the time. This is not your business. This should be offloaded to specialists the same way an email client has to be unbundled from the browser or from the operating system. Cannot do everything well. And so this is just making sense. And, I don't think we will be alone, but there will be a few remote controls brands in the market, and we want to be one of them. And indeed, we are not religious. We are not tribal. We will work with whatever works. And so we will support whatever assets and whatever coins and tokens and things that people want to use. And we're not into, let's support this because we believe this and do that. This is not our business. We're not in the business of belief. We are in the business of serving customers that want to do things with their digital assets. And for that, you need the proper technology. So I think, players that will win will think that way. I don't know if we will be the winner, but I think this is the right way to think about it.
And Bitcoin's a perfect example of the first to market is usually the first one, or usually the most successful. And so you're putting yourself in a great place to be that by being first to market for this kind of app. But so do you have a queue of what cryptos you're adding in what order? Is it based on people reaching out to you? Is it somewhere on your website? What's the process for adding a new cryptocurrency to the app?
Yeah, so right now it's a bit of insane because since Libra, the whole planet has contacted us and want to work with us. So we're kind of now constrained. We're only a very small team here. It sounds like we are a huge company, but we're a small team and we're just 1 year old. So we cannot do everything. And indeed, we have a list of priorities. We're looking at multiple parameters that that are in our mind important. I can already tell you that the next chain we're going to support is Binance chain, so BNB token and BIP2 token. So this is on the list right there. It will be followed by ERC20, which is by heritage of Ethereum will be there. So it will already give a wide range of assets being available into the wallet, from tokens to stable coins to all kind of things. And we already announced support for Tezos. We are a grantee of Tezos. We receive a grant from them. We will support Zcash. We also received a grant from Zcash very early on. So those will be naturally supported. Zilliqa will be supported too. We also received a grant from them. And then it will be how the market evolves. I mean, Libra is pretty obvious because we already announced it. And Libra testnet will be supported in ZenGo very soon with a beautiful interface. So it will be the first ever Libra wallet with consumer grade. And then we'll see, by the time we're there, there will be maybe new assets that are important to the market. Maybe we'll have some new partnerships. But for now, this is kind of the roadmap, and we're looking at multiple things, popularity, market cap, security, adoption, usage. We're not making random choices, and we try to use mostly common sense and also intuition. I know it was not a natural move to go to Libra, but we have a very strong We have a very strong belief that this will matter, and we want to be early on there.
It may not have been a PR move, but it was very good PR.
You mentioned
making that decision.
Yeah, no, that was a good marketing choice. Yeah, you mentioned Tezos and Zcash giving you a grant, and I noticed that with they were some of the earliest altcoins to be integrated with the Trezor wallet. Is that pretty common for these altcoins to give grants in order to be included in wallets like yours or in projects?
No, actually, they don't give grants to be included. First, it's not common. And second, they don't give us grant to include us into the wallet, but they give us grant to build open source code to support their assets in a non-custodial environment, which can be integrated into ZenGo, but which can be integrated by anyone into any wallet. So it's more like a research grant rather than here is some money for us to add us into your wallet. The decision to add in the wallet is ours, and it's absolutely unconditional to the grant itself. We add it because we believe also it matters, and because we believe it's going to be serving well our audience. And so it's two different decisions. And those projects do provide some grants on a regular frequency, not just for wallets, but for many, many topics. And, they have a public program about it, and they disclose that properly. And sometimes those are wallet technologies or custodian technologies or key management technologies. And they're like, this is where we fit.
I mean, your funding needs to come from somewhere, so yeah, it makes sense to me that they would offer a sort of
it's nice to get
correct. I mean, our funding.
It's nice to get it from some place that doesn't that you don't owe a favor to afterwards, or like you don't owe them your business, or they don't have So do they have a stake in your business, or it's literally just a free grant to work on the code?
No, it's a free grant. There's no stake in the business. It's properly disclosed. We are a funded company. We have raised venture capital around a year ago with large corporations and funds. We have Samsung in the capital. We have very well-known established funds in the capital. But those are different. And by the way, it's not just like the money. It's not really material. It's also to have the direct connection, the native connection with the project, so we can build first-class support for them. And to be frank, it's also adding prescription and trust to the brand, because if those guys trust us with some of their money, it means that the project is serious and not coming out of nowhere. So you were talking about the trust model. This is one of the vectors that we're using to build trust around our name and around the technology.
Yeah, I mean, because like JJ and I have been doing this podcast for about a year now, and we were both in the space I was in the space for a year before that, and I feel like you guys just came out of nowhere. Just one day you were there. And so it's nice to hear that you have all these different people who have been supporting you for a year now, and you've just been. See, part of me likes that, because the opposite is the Justin Sun model with Tron, where it's just like, stay tuned for next week, and because I'm going to announce something that's going to come in 2 weeks, and it's just like this constant barrage of PR, and it's just like, and then nothing ever happens. Whereas this, it's like, oh, hey guys, we're new. Here's the app. It works. And you're like, oh, wow.
Yeah, that's well, no comment on Tron, but I can tell you one thing. I mean, the project has been around for a year, but what you think is the result of a 2.5-year process. Before the company was created, we worked a lot on the technology just to make sure it was even possible. It's like, it's hard to realize, but it's a world first. I mean, threshold signature multi-party computation has been around for many, many, many years. In the first consumer grade application, that it's really possible and usable, and it's not like came by magic overnight. It's a long process, and it's been very tedious and very painful. Just for the sake of the anecdote, the recovery process with, in case we disappear and stop operating, was a massive, massive project and required a lot of time, coding, money to be put into it. So one day we announce it and people say, oh, all right, that's cool. That's great that it exists. But there is, behind simplicity, there is always enormous complexity. It's really hard to make simple. And so, of course, it surprises when people hear about it and say, all right, that's cool. Well, where are those guys coming from? But believe me, it didn't come overnight. It was not something that was easy to build, and we're still like way far from where we want to be, and the roadmap is super exciting. Cannot disclose everything yet, but I don't want to sound like Tron. But there will be some really cool stuff that is coming.
Nice. JJ, do you have any other questions?
No, I just downloaded the wallet on my phone. So.
Goal achieved. We made it.
Yeah, you did it.
So is there anything specific you would like to plug, or like, can you give us all your contact information, like, your Twitter and your website, your this and your that,
Socials.
just so users can figure out?
So it's very, very simple. Yeah, very simple. Just go to zengo.com, zengo.com. Nice URL, by the way. Pay attention. We got the .com. On Twitter, it's @Zengo. Also a nice @ no HQ or whatever. So it's easy to remember. I'm easy to find anywhere. You just Google Ouriel, Ouriel, and you'll find multiple ways to reach out. But most importantly, download the wallet. It's on the App Store. Same thing, Google ZenGo, App Store ZenGo, and soon on Android. And you'll find us there. There is 24/7 customer support. You can talk to us.
And you also mentioned
anytime.
that you released something on a blog, so we'll make sure you get that to us, and we'll have that in the link below in the comment section of the podcast. Is there anything else you'd like to say about ZenGo or crypto in general, or?
Well, there is so many things. I mean, obviously, I want people to try the app, but more importantly, I want them to try other apps and realize, what it means to be in the space. I think the most important thing when you get into crypto is the learning curve that you're going through to find your spot and your comfort zone. And it's important that people don't jump onto ZenGo first, and I'm advocating against myself here. You should not try ZenGo first. You should try other solutions. You should compare, find your sweet spot, be comfortable, find where your comfort zone is, and then try ZenGo and see if it fits for you. It won't fit to everyone, and we're fine with that. We okay that not everybody loves it and wants that by default. But those who will find it comfortable will not look back. They will not want to use anything else. So I think it's important to always use something in comparison to something else, and the discovery process is important.
I can tell you're not American right now just because of that comment right there. We live in such a capitalist, like, our way or the highway. It's so refreshing when people are like, no, it's not for everybody. Like, test out other thing. Like it's nice to hear somebody who's confident in their product and they don't need every single person to love them. So good for you.
Yeah, we shall see. Hopefully, some we will. Some will.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're in trouble.
JJ, anything else on your end?
No. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, Ouriel. I really appreciate you coming on the podcast.
I had a blast. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for listening, everybody. I gotta say, I was a little bit of a fanboy of Ouriel because I emailed him afterwards and I said it's interesting to see something in my mind, think that is one of the pivotal moments of cryptocurrency. Like, that is something that I feel like his wallet and what they're doing is going to be the next iteration of bringing people into crypto easily, because the wallet is really just that easy. And if it's as safe as he says it is, and so far nobody's been able to hack into it, which is pretty impressive, that's pretty exciting to see that. So just a reminder, we're 100% donation based, so any help is appreciated. At keyword crypto, keyword-crypto.com is our website and Twitter, and let us know what you think, and let us know who you'd like to have on next, and any questions you have, and just say hi, because that helps us too. It lets us know that we're doing well. That's it. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.